Was waving. I have, there was a question that you got in the chat, and I think we can address part of that question here about what do you do for students who want to move out of chemistry, biology, physics, and into things like computer science and engineering. And in terms of mentorship, I must say in Pittsburgh, our engineering community is quite good at responding to students. Typically and historically in the past, when we look for judges, we always have way too many engineers, so much so that we always put them into chemistry, physics, biology, because engineers can do anything. You know, this is just the way it is, because they've got a background in the sciences that is not, it tends to span a whole bunch of different things. So if you're looking for a mentor for your student in engineering and computer science, I hate to be the gatekeeper, but I think that we can look to, first of all, you look at companies and look at their engineering staff and reach out to some of their engineering people in the areas that you're interested in. Secondly, you can look at, I am absolutely positive as I am sitting here, that any one of our judges who have come for many years to the science fair would be more than willing to sit down with your student and help them through the engineering process. The computer science guys are always thrilled when a student has something that they want to work on, and they'd love to help them. I know these guys, they just want to, they're mostly men, unfortunately, they're mostly men, but they would love to help your student as mentors. So we can help you find engineers from our list of judges, from our list of companies that have participated, and hook you up with people in industry. So those are the people that you want to mentor your student. Now you can go to the engineering schools, but CMU, as Chuck said, is not as open. Pitt has, their engineering programs are less formalized than some of the other areas. So you probably want, you know, you can look there, but you might not get as many results. I'm guessing that we could probably hook you up with mentors pretty easily through our judge list, just by reaching out to our judges and say, hey, who of you would be willing to help mentor a student? And a lot of these guys are like me, retired, you know, I mean, this is why we do what we do. We have the time, and they would be more than willing to help. So,
and I can be the gatekeeper for that, because I have all of the judges' contact information, and you know,
and this parent says that these subjects are scary to a homeschool parent. Well, I'll give you a clue. They're scary to most teachers. You don't have to be a homeschool parent for these subjects to be scary. They're not really. Everything around you was built, designed, had involvement of engineers. So you have your engineers in the world around you. They are not scary people. Please don't be scared of us.
No, but if you do have a specific engineering interest and you would like me to mine some mentors from our judging list for you, you can send me an email anytime, and I will try to round some folks up for you. So we had another question in the chat before lunch, which I was saving for the panel time as well. It's about virtual pre-CEF this spring. The question is, will the format be slides or still old school backboards? The answer is, I have published the pre-CEF rulebook for 2021. It is on our website, and it has some specific details about what will be required. So the requirements are going to be different for the different age groups. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are going to have to submit a PDF document of what would have been on their poster. So if you want for that to be PowerPoint slides and a series of slides, you can do it that way. If you want for it to be photos and pictures and, you know, more colorful, decorative, you know, they really enjoyed making the poster and they want to show everyone that creativity, you can put photos of different parts of the poster into this PDF document and upload that. So that's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. For the high school students, we're going to ask them to write a more formal research paper, maybe not as long and complicated as one they would have submitted for an ICEF application, but along the same lines. It should look like a research paper that you would find in a science journal. And I have lots of resources in the teacher handbook, which is going to be published in the next couple of weeks, and in the rule book about where you can find science journals to model those papers after. So many more details about that will be coming later in the school year, but that's where we are right now for the requirements for virtual pre-CEF.
And I will add, ICEF will still require a paper as normal.
Oh, yes.
That's not change.
Okay, so we are in the panel discussion portion of our day right now, where we're hoping for some audience participation, questions you might have about the science fair, about teaching research, about connecting with resources, about virtual pre-CEF. We will do our best to answer those questions. As audience members, if you have answers to somebody else's questions, please unmute yourself and jump in. You can unmute yourself and ask us your questions, or you can put them in the chat box and I will direct them as appropriate. Where can we find the abstracts for ICEF?
If you go to the ICEF page, and I'd have to actually find it, there is a place where you can search all of the abstracts from the previous, I think it's 10 years. Is that right, Chuck?
Yeah, let me. I've got my computer up here. Just let me go look. Okay, take me a minute. Go on to the next question, and then we'll get back. How's that?
All right, we have another comment. I assume trying to connect middle school students with college mentors and labs would be inappropriate.
At the University of Pittsburgh, this is a good question because I didn't formally mention this. At the University of Pittsburgh, the current requirement to be in a wet lab is they have to be at least 16. To do computational work, it's 15. That's to do like one-on-one mentored research. There are some middle school programs, so it's not connecting them with a mentor or a lab, but there are some middle school programs that exist at Pitt, but they won't be able to do one-on-one research.
My brother-in-law was actually reviewing projects for Broadcom Masters, which of course is the middle school program. I am given, based on the titles of some of these projects, I'm not sure where these students were doing this work because it was pretty sophisticated work that looked like it was being done in a lab. We need to probably figure out how this is all happening elsewhere, you know, because it doesn't look like it's appropriate for what we're seeing here. But
I can tell you that middle school students sometimes get in to labs because people don't, again, goes back to people not knowing the legislation and what's required and allowed.
right.
So I've heard of students who are as young as 14 working in labs. I've never seen it. Our program doesn't allow it, but it will happen, I'm sure.
The ones that we tend to see with middle school students working in a lab is because there's a parent. And so a parent will get their child into a lab where normally they would not typically be allowed.
All right. It's immensely complicated to get to the abstracts. The website is abstracts.societyforscience.org.
Could you copy and paste that into the chat?
No, because my
No.
no, because I'm on my computer and I'm on my iPad for.
Oh, okay.
And I have to get out of.
Tell me what it is, Chuck. I'll type it in.
Abstracts.societyforscience.org, and it's searchable by categories, by keywords. You know, it has abstracts from 2014 to the present. So real easy to find. In fact, this is what I used when I compiled my report.
Let me check it, make sure it works.
Worked for me.
Okay. It won't let me load it through Norton. For some reason or other, it's doesn't like it. Let me try.
Yeah, it works. Works in Yahoo, or works in Firefox.
I think you missed an S. It's abstracts, plural,
Oh, okay.
.societyforscience.org. And I hit my firewall too. There you go. Thank you. All right. Are there programs that can come to middle schoolers and get them hooked up? Mr. Crotech has a wonderful outreach program, just looking for additional programs to hook my 8th graders and encourage them to take harder courses in high school. That's a fun question. I bet David Boone would come. He had to leave us to attend to some other things he has to do today. But yeah, I bet he would come to the school and
Thank
talk
you,
to 8th
Nikki.
graders.
I'll reach out to him. And
Okay.
a great cry out to Mark Crotech, because his young men do a fantastic job. Not only does he have them coming to the schools, but he actually has them reaching out to me. He doesn't do the outreach. The students do the outreach to the teachers to set everything up. It's a fantastic, fantastic program. So, okay, thank you. I'll reach out to him.
All right.
Well, it is Central Catholic after all.
I think he throws us a bone because we're a Catholic school too, but we appreciate any bones we can get.
Excuse me, which school are you from?
I am from the new Ave Maria Academy, the former St. Thomas More.
Well, welcome.
Thank you very much.
St. Thomas More has a long and storied history at Presouth.
Yes, I know. I had very large shoes to fill.
Yes, you did. And we're not talking about the size of her feet, but yeah, I knew your predecessor. And very successful.
Yes,
And,
I'm working really hard to keep that up.
Yeah, I went to Central Catholic, you may have guessed, and Mark, I actually taught Mark when he was there.
He's a fantastic teacher, and I've worked with him while I was at Sacred Heart, and our lab at Sacred Heart, of course, is named for him. Yeah. So he is a wonderful individual to reach out to.
He was a good kid, too. So.
And I'm curious to see what science fair participation in the newly structured Catholic grade schools and middle schools is going to look like this year, as all of you teachers who brought your individual schools to PreSAF are now working together in those merged schools.
So it's campus-based. So we'll be there as Campus 1 and Campus 2. We'll be there as Mount Lebanon campus and Bethel Park campus.
Okay.
At least that's the game plan.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. I don't see any other questions in the chat yet. We'll wait patiently.
The question about the middle school program too is I go out to middle schools all the time. I have a presentation that I give. I don't know how much I hook them, but I do talk to them about what they need to do in order to participate. I've gone to a lot of middle schools. I went to St. What's the one over in West Mifflin? I've been to there a couple of times. I go out to Ambridge all the time. So this year we kind of got our wires crossed, but I'm willing to go out and talk to students too.
Maybe we could arrange, I don't know what they're doing as far as visitors go as we open back up. I know we are opening in person, but perhaps we could do something as a Zoom, and you could even do your presentation to them. I am going to get them started. I've been told that our students are not allowed to share things, which is upsetting me greatly because I don't know how I'm supposed to do a lab if they can't share something or touch something that other students have touched. I don't know, these rules are driving me insane. But I decided earlier last week that I'm gonna have them start doing, I actually have my children do a research paper, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and that we're gonna get started on researching things. I'm following, I believe is Jan's kind of format that she does. So I'm trying to get them started earlier. So it'd be great if you could talk to them.
I'd love to, not a problem. And I feel your pain. My son is trying to figure out how to do a robotics lab without having kids share things. So, you know, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This has been a wealth of information. I mean, it's not really applicable to me, but I have enjoyed listening to all of you guys.
Well, you never know when you could use something that has come up.
So I'm going to make a plug for a PA Power Library based resource that we've developed for our pre-CEF students. I put a link to it in the chat box. So a member of our SRC and co-chair of one of our category judging teams is also on the board of directors for his local library, and he saw a real need for pre-CEF students to broaden their horizons when it comes to the sources they use for their research papers, for their research plans that they send into the SRC. So every person who lives in Pennsylvania has access to the PA Power Library, and most of the kids don't know about it, but it is free and they can get into it with a library card. And if they don't have a library card, they can apply for one right on the site, and it takes like 30 seconds to get in. So the Westmoreland Library Network, which is what WLN stands for in that link, sorted through all of the databases that are available through PA Power Library and boiled them down to the ones which are applicable for our students. So they can go in and search on the topic that they're looking for and find peer-reviewed quality sources that they can put in their research plans and use for their literature review. Also on that page, they put a ton of resources about how to determine if your source is credible. Do you want to use somebody's blog, or do you want to use a peer-reviewed journal? And they explain, you know, why this source is credible and that one might not be. They also have resources about how to reference your sources. So if you send the SRC a research plan with a bunch of URLs at the end of it for your bibliography, they're going to send it back. But if you send your students to this website with the WLN online/pre-CEF site, then they can learn how to format their sources correctly the first time and not have that project come back and, you know, perhaps be disheartened by the feedback they're getting on their bibliography. So I will be mailing shortly envelopes to all of the teachers who were at pre-CEF last year with participation certificates, perseverance certificates, and flyers about this website so that you can have access to all that information for students going forward this year, starting their research plans. So last year, we didn't have it launched quite in time for registration, but the review committee was putting this website in their comments for all the students who had bibliography problems. And we had tons of students take them up on using this website. We were tracking individual users. And, you know, a lot of students found it really valuable in figuring out how to reference their sources properly. So strongly encourage you to point students in that direction and, you know, get those bibliographies in shape. All right, I'm still not seeing many questions in the chat room. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about?
Hey Nikki, it's Anne. How are you?
I'm good, Anne. How are you?
I'm good. So thanks for setting this up for us because it's phenomenal. And it's amazing that we get to see, you know, such a talent pool in Pittsburgh. My question to the whole panel and to everybody is, what do you guys have in terms of advice or thoughts for kids who want to do research and are going to start this year for the first time, but they don't have access to labs at Pitt or CMU, given, you know, some of the challenges Dr. Boone looked at and so on. What are some online options for our kids, assuming they pick something they're passionate about and they are able to you know, have some decent understanding of the scientific research process and statistics?
So there were a couple of really great talks at ISEF. They were titled Science at Home. And then there was one for biological sciences and there was one for some other type of science. And the speakers there detailed so many different ways that great science can be done outside of university labs. So I took copious notes and included a lot of those resources in the teacher handbook, which I've been working diligently on over the summer and plan to publish within the next week or two. So there's lots of resources about project ideas and suitable things that you can do either in a high school lab or just in your own kitchen or your backyard to come up with like a really quality project without being in a university lab. Chuck, do you know if those talks are still available on the Society for Science webpage or not? You're muted, Chuck. Janet, you're muted too. Oh, there we go.
Nikki, I thought that they got taken down.
Yeah, I think they probably were.
But I think that if you have a specific request, they probably can provide them to you. You know,
Okay.
they're not getting rid of that kind of stuff because they'll build on it. Because we don't know what's going to happen with ISEF next year. Who knows? At this point.
Exactly.
So
I don't think the judges are going to be looking for university level projects this year at Pre-Cef or any other science fair because they know what's happening too, and they know that their universities haven't been taking students and none of the students are able to get out and do things. So I'd say that the creativity is probably going to be top of mind for judges this year. You know, what did students do with the circumstances they were handed this year, and did they persevere through that and come up with a creative way to look at a problem given the resources that they had?
right.
So could I conclude that creativity is key, and what can you do with what you have, not what you don't have, and that the ISEF or Pre-Cef judges will factor all of those things in as they're judging?
Yes.
Okay. I think Chuck's talking.
Chuck, you're muted.
Unmute. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay, so yeah, it's all still up. Research at Home, Life Science Edition. If you go to ICEF 2020, you can find your way to the so www.societyforscience.org, or if you just Google ICEF 2020, you'll find it. You'll trip over it.
Oh,
So
look at that.
all the
And
videos up there, Chuck.
It's just a matter of
All right. There's the link. All of the talks are there.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's nice. And
You're
then
welcome.
I know Jan and some other participants.
Excuse me a
attended
second. Let me just say, if you scroll down, there's a thing that says Virtual Regeneron ICEF 2020. So, and that's where it is. So this is societyforscience.org/ICEF. But if you Google ICEF, the main ICEF page comes up. You just have to scan down to find the Virtual Regeneron.
Virtual Regeneron. Okay. So my other question was for anybody who attended the ICEF training for teachers. What are your thoughts for any of you who have attended those? And did you find that to be valuable? And I know John talked about setting up a cohort in Pittsburgh to help students and teachers. So what are your thoughts? Like, I know from what I gather, Nikki's going to post everything on the teacher handbook on the Precept website, and all the resources and everything from today. So if we have questions to this cohort, what would be a good way or a good place to email everybody and say, hey, here's a question, can you help?
I think the first resource you should use is probably me. If you have a question that you want to send to the cohort, for now, I think it should just come directly to me and I can disseminate to the group, including the people I feel are applicable. And I think we should work on coming up with a way for all of you to communicate without me in the middle. But right now, I think I will coordinate that.
Cool.
So yeah, feel free to reach out anytime and I will connect people as well as I can.
Someone suggested setting up a Google Classroom. Maybe it's a good idea to have a repository where we can put all of this kind of information in one place. I don't know that it needs to be a Google Classroom, but maybe someplace, on the website where we can,
Yes.
put all this stuff in a single place.
Mhm.
Maybe with a link at the top of the teacher registration page or something like that, so that people who weren't here can have that access. I know
Yes.
you were planning on putting some of it up there,
Mhm.
but maybe it's just a single place where all of these resources can be located.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking a classroom as well. And the Carnegie Museums have contracted with D2L on their Brightspace system. So we're going to be using that as a museum-wide system for all of our virtual classroom needs. So if this lands in a classroom, it will probably be in a Brightspace classroom rather than a Google Classroom.
Are they using that across the whole system, Nikki?
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, all
my
4 museums.
my sister's conducting, they do classrooms at Natural History, and I imagine I haven't talked to her about it, but imagine that she's busy setting up that kind of stuff too.
Yes, they will be using Brightspace as well. So I think Brightspace would be a good home for a lot of this and a place where teachers could communicate with each other. I haven't been in the Brightspace system yet, but I'm promised that I will be allowed in. So I think people who have more immediate need of it are ahead of me in line for training.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be in sooner rather than later.
Good. And I would again say, anybody who's out there and you speak to other members of the cohort who aren't here, who want to do a presentation to students, I'm more than willing to do a Zoom presentation or any kind of a virtual presentation to classrooms of students. Just get in touch with Nikki, she'll get in touch with me, and we can make that happen. This is the
And
time.
I'm happy to be present for those as well. We can tag team you, and
I mean, this is the time when we need to be planning for the fall, and the sooner we can